Secretary Dr. Hari Krishna, and all the heads of the departments of Sai Ram College of Engineering, and all my dear students. It's been after a long gap. I've been meeting you, probably more than 1.5 2 months, and hopefully you're all staying safe at your home in this lockdown period. So continue to stay home, and we are expecting the situation to come down, and the lockdown maybe means we were expecting the lockdown to get lifted by 3rd, but the situation is not in favor. So I think that's a big topic to get in for discussion. And moreover, very happy about you guys engaging very effectively on the digital platforms, utilization of your Google Classrooms, and very glad to know that the participation in the internal assessment, almost 100% of the whole college has been participating in the internal assessment, which happened in the last 1 week. You have written the test and you have uploaded the answer scripts on the Google Classrooms, and it was done in a very systematic way. So for the first time, so big round of applause and congratulations to you all. So whenever the door is shut, the other door is open. That's what people say. So this COVID has put us all inside our houses and locked us in. So meantime, it has opened avenues in different ways. So now this digital platform, like if we had to implement it, formally through the college during the normal days, it would have been not so possible to adopt it in such a large extent. But because of this, now almost 100% of you are on board in these digital platforms. So when this 100% utilization happened in the classes and in Google Classrooms, your lecturing have been engaged effectively. So we thought of why not we include our eminent, because Sai Ram is having over 20 years of legacy. We have a lot of very eminent alumni placed across the globe, and they are very well settled and who can give a lot of insights and information. So we were when we were discussing with the alumni secretary and our whole alumni executive committee members, they welcomed that idea, because we used to invite. Whenever we invite our alumni, they say that, sir, I can come to the campus, but I can come only on Saturdays. So only on Saturdays means how many Saturdays we are working, and there are a lot of logistic limitations were there. Now, in the matter of sitting at their own place, they have that technology to access you all. So when we thought, when this technology has become accessible for everyone, why don't we make the best utilization of this? So then we came out of this idea called Senior Talk. So we wanted to brand it in a different way. So we used to do a lot of programs on the Alumni Association like Ignite, Stepping Stone, and a lot of seminars, soft skills training we used to do. But this program I wanted to be very exclusive, and I wanted to bring some eminent alumni. So alumni, always the doors are welcome for our institution. Like we used to receive them with red carpet. So whoever is interested, we are entertaining them all with that. But this is something different. We go and reach out to eminent alumni and invite them to be our guest for a day and to address you all on the latest technology or the domain where they have the expertise in. Because they have been see, for example, if you take Samir Mehta. Thanks to social media, I got linked him because he is a junior to me, and I'm not very well connected with him, during the college days or even after that. So I know Samir. I have seen him maybe on Hi or as a junior. He might have given some introduction to me in the during our first or second interaction, and he shared hostel with me, if I'm right. So as long as my memory go with Samir, he stayed in hostel. He's a computer science student. And I think he's an all-rounder when he is in college. Samir, you there? He's an all-rounder, and I think he's our college. He's a very active player in our college cricket team. He's one of the star players, if I'm right. To be frank, when me or Samir we were not doing our engineering at by then the college was called the Shirdi Sai Engineering College. During that time, we didn't had a cricket ground or sports ground itself. Only one small volleyball court used to be there in our temporary campus. These guys used to go to some layout ground, and all these college tournaments will be conducted there. I think Samir is part of our college cricket team. He's an all-rounder, and he's a very good cricket player. I think as well, one more memory goes about Samir. Like during the college fest, I think Samir and his friends, they had made a stage performance on
Yeah,
right? Dil Chahta Hai,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Koi Kahe.
That's right.
Yeah. You, who are the other two guys?
So I think one was Zohaib and the other one was Puneet. Puneet was from electrical.
Zohaib, yes. Zohaib also, I don't remember Puneet. So these three guys were dancing for this Koi Kahe, from Dil Chahta Hai. So very, very small memories I have, about Samir. So when I came across his profile in LinkedIn, I was really astonished to see him in such a wonderful position, right? So immediately I got connected to him and I, interacted with him. I wanted Samir to be on our campus one day for some big occasion. I had invited and he also agreed for it. He's a person little busy. He keeps traveling in different places and he agreed that whenever he's in Bangalore, he will visit our campus. But unfortunately, this lockdown came in between. So I thought, when I thought of this, senior talk program, we branded it that way. We didn't just want this to be just another seminar or webinar. So we wanted this to be in a structured way, which is going to be really useful for the students. And I want it to be highly informal and highly interactive. I don't want any formalities or any formal, this is your senior. He is not a resource person from, some big company like Boss. No, nothing like that. So he's your senior. All the students, I request you all just to treat him like a senior. And with your senior buyer, what are the questions you ask? What are the silly doubts you ask? Feel free to discuss with Samir and get maximum information out of him. So I just wanted this program also to be titled as Senior Talks instead of a webinar on so and so topic or something like senior talk. You can feel so comfortable as if you're talking to your senior in person. So definitely, we are all super seniors to you. And I hope Samir will be kind enough to interact or give some yarn to you all today. So he is the first. When I titled this program, the first speaker that came to my mind is Samir again. So I spoke to him, and he was kind enough to accept immediately. And because of the internals, we could not schedule it immediately. But still, as soon as the internal completed today, it is going to take off. And I'm very glad about it. So this is going to be a series of lectures. Today, Samir is going to talk about this particular topic. And, immediately by next week or whenever the next date we are getting from next eminent alumni, I will give the announcement about the next program at the end of the session. And with this small note about this program and about Samir, I would like to invite, welcome our principal, Dr. V. Sarashirappa sir, to formally render the welcome address and to read out the guest profile of the day. Sir, please.
I think sir will have to unmute himself.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I unmute.
Yeah,
I will mute.
Yeah, hi, sir.
Yes, good morning all. Respected management representative, Dr. R. Arun Kumar. Today's speaker, our alumni, Samir Mehta. I hope HODs also joined, heads of the department, faculties, and my dear students. And today we have organized this live webinar from Hyderabad by our alumni. The title is Senior Talks and Small Talks, Big Lessons. So I welcome you all once again to this webinar, and I welcome on behalf of Sairam family, Sri Samir Mehta, our alumni. Today he is going to talk about how relevant is an MBA degree for engineers. So in this occasion, I would like to introduce him to all my students. Samir Mehta is our alumni, passed out in 2004 from computer science and engineering. Actually, even I am also not seen him because I joined this institution as a HOD of computer science in the year 2006. I think after he left out the college, I joined the computer science department. Samir Mehta is presently a managing partner, XSE Consulting. He is a graduate of Indian School of Business with double major in strategy and leadership and marketing. He's having more than 15 years of experience in sales, marketing, and operations across SaaS, internet, enterprise software, and online media. Samir has held leadership positions in several leading companies, including MyGate, Genoti, Inknut Digital, 135, Tech Labs, and CA Technologies. Samir is also an angel investor with investments in RoadGods, Remeto, Fanspol, and Aurobindo. So this is a brief about Samir Mehta, our alumni. And on behalf of Sairam family, I welcome Samir Mehta for this live webinar. Coming to the students, I know you are all busy with up to yesterday by writing internal assessment test. And today, for all of you, we have arranged a live webinar for you from Hyderabad. So your senior is going to speak about today's webinar. He is going to share his experience. This session will be very useful and beneficial to all of you. I request all of you to kindly participate actively and make use of this program very effectively. And before I conclude, I would like to say happy digital learning. Stay at home, stay safe, break the chain. Now I request Samir to take over the session. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Samir,
yeah.
Sorry for disturbance. A few of them are
No.
waiting in the waiting room. Before you
Okay.
start, can you please accept them, admit them?
Sure. I am actually not seeing any more. I don't see anybody else in the queue. I have approved all.
Yeah.
I don't see anybody. Let me try and see if there is a way.
Please check it out once.
Just 1 second. Just 1 second. So I'm not seeing any more people. Dr. Hari, what you can do is actually the Google invite that I've sent, I have given you the ability to invite others also. So if you have their email IDs that they are using for Google Meet, you can actually tell them to send that particular Google whatever email ID they are using that they've logged in now, and you can send them the invite. They will be pre-approved.
Okay.
Okay, because I'm
thank
not. I tried seeing. I'm not seeing any pending approvals.
Okay, Samir.
At
I'll
my
do
end.
that.
Yeah. All right. All
Thank
right.
you.
Okay.
Thank
Great. So yeah, thank you so much, Principal Sir and Arun. It's always a pleasure interacting with you. I know, like you said, we were in touch last year as well, and I was very keen to come and visit the college, but I think because of scheduling issues, I was not able to make it there. I haven't actually come back since I've graduated in 2004, and I'm sure the college is, and I keep following the social media channels and some news whenever it pops up, and I feel very happy about whenever I see the campus, right? And also, where our first 2 years was actually in the old campus. So the new campus was something that we came in and kind of seeded, and and then all the other newer batches have only come in over there. So I think we have a history that goes back many years. So so definitely I would be very keen to come in, and whenever I'm in Bangalore, I would definitely want to come in and interact with all of you. So and I think to everyone else, wishing you a very good morning. And like Arun said, let us keep it informal. I am first your senior, right? So I'm here to kind of help you, with your in your career, in your professional choices that you have, whatever personal choices that you're making with respect to what skills to acquire. So think of me like that. And Arun was very right, because if you keep it very formal, then you may not be actually you may not be able to get the most out of interacting with people like me and other my classmates or any other alumni that you reach out to, right? And I think alumni have a great alumni are actually in a great position to give back to whichever institute they graduate from, because they've been through the course. They've come out, they've kind of jumped through the hoops, and they have the experience. So we can actually tell you, what mistakes to avoid, what mistakes to make, because not all mistakes are bad. The mistakes help you learn as well. So with that, what I thought would be a good topic for us to interact on today would be, how relevant is an MBA degree for engineers? Because I went on and did an MBA from ISB, and very quickly to give my background. So even before I actually got into engineering, I was very clear that I wanted to do an MBA, and I was very clear that I wanted to do it from ISB, right? So ISB started in 2001. The choices, why it was ISB was because I was looking at a one-year course, and I was looking only at a top college. So, and from a profile perspective, I was very clear that I really wanted to, do an engineering degree so that I get the requisite technical skills, and then go on to do a business degree, so that I'm able to combine the best of both. And I'm going to talk about that also. What kind of an advantage does an MBA degree actually give? So I joined, the Sairam College. Back then it was Shirdi Sai. So it was in 2000 in the computer science department. And I actually, for the first few months, I was in the hostel, and Arun was also there. So we used to interact a little bit. Of course, he was my senior, so we used to be a little scared, but he was a very nice guy and always very helpful. So I was there for a few months, but then I had moved out to some other accommodation. But I spent a lot of time there. We also did a lot of extracurriculars. We actually, I ended up captaining the cricket team, and we actually, did very well in tournaments. We defeated some of the top teams there. We've defeated PESID, we've defeated MBIT, and I'm sure a lot of others as well, because we had a fantastic team. So, those are memories that I definitely cherish. And after graduating in 2004, I went on to join in a technical role. I was a developer, so I actually used to code. And then from the first 2 years of coding, I then went on to more marketing and sales oriented roles, but all technical in nature, right? So I was working for a technical product company called Sum Total Systems. I did my pre-sales. I was responsible for pre-sales for the APAC region. So I worked in Sum Total for 6 years. Then, because like I told you, I was always clear that I wanted to do an MBA. I went, did my MBA, and then came back again, I joined a technical company, because what I wanted to do was I wanted to go deeper into technology, but the functional roles that I wanted to do were different, right? So I wanted to have a more holistic understanding of what the technology companies do in the market. So, and since then I joined CA Technologies, which is a big enterprise company. It got acquired by Broadcom a few years ago. And then since then, I've been in startups, because with the technical skills that I had and the business skills that I had acquired, I felt that it would be good for me to get into the startup world and figure out how I can contribute, right? So that, in a nutshell, is my background and my experience. I very quickly wanted to just touch upon what my agency does. So I actually head a digital marketing agency right now. We are completely into growth marketing, social media, SEO, content, and a lot of our technical, our approach. So one thing that actually sets engineers apart from others would be their very high quantitative skills, ability, and the way we approach a particular problem, right? So we use a lot of quant, we use a lot of mathematics or logic, right? So that is, and we take that approach in our digital marketing as well, right? So, and of course, feel free to, if you have an interest in any of these, please feel free to reach out to me, right? Now, this is the agenda for today. Before I start, I just want to have a quick check. Arun, you're able to see the screen, right? Arun and Dr. Hari, you?
Yes, we could.
Okay,
Yeah, you can see
great.
it, Samir.
Great. All right. So this is what I wanted the agenda to be today. What are the advantages of doing an MBA? Particularly being an engineer, which in itself is a very rigorous course and imparts a lot of fantastic skills to people going through the course. What are the additional advantages that an MBA can give? And when does it make sense to do an MBA? When does it make sense to do an MTech, for example, right? That is what we'll discuss. And if you're sure that you want to go in for an MBA, then how do you prep? How do you make sure that you have the best chance of getting into one of the top, B schools and getting the most out of your experience and enhancing your skills and your profile, right? So with that, let's get into what are the different advantages of an MBA for engineers, right? So I think one of the first advantages that an MBA gives us is that we, especially if you look at tech companies, we the strategy of a technology company, whether it is Google, whether it is product companies like Google, Microsoft, Apple, or whether it would be services companies like TCS, Cognizant, or Wipro. If you look at the the key decisions that are taken in companies that are taken at a business level, right? And if it's a product company, it's taken at a product level along with business. When you are looking at getting into that part of your career, so if you're more interested in a business role, if you're more interested in a product role, then an MBA definitely helps, because in MBA you actually learn a lot of additional functional skill sets, right? So you would get a better understanding of marketing, you would get a better understanding of accounting, strategy, how do you deal with corporate strategy versus dealing with business level strategy. And it's very rigorous. A lot of case studies are shown to you. You actually do a lot of case studies, solving those case studies. So you become a much better product person or a business person post an MBA versus somebody who's done a pure engineering degree, or even if it is MTech. Now the key difference here is that it's perfectly fine to continue in a technical role, and a lot of people I know, very, very successful people, very, very technically strong people who are extremely happy continuing in a technology role only, right? So in the IT world, that would translate into on the engineering side. So you would actually start off as a developer, you would then become a development lead, you will then become an engineering manager, you become a principal engineering manager. So that path is also very, very good, lucrative, rewarding, a lot of learning there as well. But if your interest lies in understanding the business, understanding what a product is supposed to accomplish, then having an MBA definitely helps, right? Because having the right kind of strong technical knowledge plus the business knowledge becomes extremely important. Because at the end of the day, a product manager or a business unit head is a mini CEO. He or she is the CEO of that particular product. So the decisions you take cannot be in isolation. It cannot only be focused on your engineering skills that you have. It is very important that you also understand the impact, right? If you were to add a feature, what is the additional revenue that you can get? If you're adding a feature, what is the more market share that you will get? So all of those things, if you look at an engineering curriculum, they don't always cover that. But that is something we do day in, day out in an MBA program. And those skills definitely help us become better business and product managers. Now, in my career, I have also seen people make the transition from the technical side to product side or business side without having an MBA degree. But your career growth might get limited if you are switched over from your technical side to a business side and you don't have an MBA degree, which moves takes me to my next slide. If you are planning to be in business, in a business role in a technical company, or a product role in a product company, if you have an MBA degree, it is your leadership positions that are available are usually you have a better chance of getting leadership positions if you have a good MBA degree. And you can see examples in any of the top companies. So if you look at Google, Sundar Pichai also has an MBA degree. He has a very strong technical degree. I think he also has done a master's on the technical side, but he also has an MBA degree, right? Same thing goes with Satya Nadella as well, right? So so it's not to say that not having an MBA will definitely not give you access to leadership roles on the business side, but I'm just saying it makes it easier for you. So if you're planning, if you're doing your career planning that, hey, in the next 5 years, or in the next 10 years, this is where I want to be. And if you feel that wherever you want to be has a strong business focus, a strong product focus, then you should look at getting an MBA degree over the next, in the interim, right? So if your plan is the next 10 years or 5 years, then in the middle somewhere you should look at getting an MBA degree, right? So it becomes very, very important. Again, I want to reiterate over here, if you really like technical roles, if you like technology, and if you want to continue growing in that role, then an MTech or a PhD is definitely better, because you will then get the right kind of technical depth, so that you are able to guide other technical people that are junior to you, or even technical strategy, right? So if you were to look at, let's say, networking, computer networking, or if you were to look at like right now cloud computing is growing, right? So there, if you are really looking at how do you kind of, with COVID especially, what's happened is that a lot of companies are coming on cloud. So now the challenge or the opportunity there is, how do you grow almost 50x, right? How do you make sure that your network is constituted in a way that it doesn't break down? So that is pure technical skills, and it is very, very important for a company like, let's say, Microsoft or Azure, which is their cloud platform. That kind of technical knowledge is extremely key. They cannot survive without that. So therefore, if your knowledge, if your interest is in a technical role, then definitely look at an MTech or a PhD. An MBA can be on top of that. It can be, cherry on the cake, but you need the cake, and the cake in this case is a technical degree and more in-depth understanding of your technical domain, right? Now, the other aspect where an MBA degree comes in handy is when you are looking to start up, right? How does it help? See, again, the kind of courses or the kind of subjects that are taught in an MBA course are very business and entrepreneurship focused, right? Those give you those complementary skills that you will need to build your company. For example, I'm sure a lot of you have ideas around what, some kind of business ideas or some kind of startup ideas. Hey, why don't we do this? Hey, why don't we do that? Why don't we create a new social media platform or a new messaging platform, or whatever it is, right? It could be solving the supply chain from in agriculture also, right? So while you will definitely need technical skills, you cannot, the company in this day and age cannot survive purely on an ops heavy model. You have to have some technology advantage, which is where the degree that you're doing comes in very handy. But if you have the ability to kind of calculate the total addressable market, understand what is the market opportunity, are you looking at, let's say, 1 crore per year revenue, for your startup, or are you looking at 100 crore per year revenue for your startup? You have to do a lot of business analysis over there. You have to do a lot of accounting. You have to do a lot of finance planning as well. And that is where an MBA course's curriculum comes in handy. Otherwise, you may end up taking a suboptimal decision. Because you may not have access to all the data. So one thing I always explain to people that ask me, how did an MBA degree help me, is that the way I approach a problem, the way I analyze the problem has become more end-to-end right now. Earlier, I was only focused on the technical side because I was dealing with the technology problem. But now I'm dealing with the business problem. So I bring in a lot more parameters, a lot more metrics that are outside of technology. Do I have enough cash flows for this company to survive? Will it make a profit? If it's not going to make a profit, where do I raise funds from? At what, do I raise funds through debt, which is, do I go to a bank, or do I give out some equity and bring in some investors, right? So those are all very strategic decisions, very business oriented decisions, where having the right kind of theoretical knowledge, which you will gain in an MBA course, will come in handy for you, right? The other place, so the first three that I've just gone through, right, which is what one is your product and business oriented focus. The second is how do you grow. So instead of managerial role, I would actually say this is leadership role, right? And the third is starting up. So these three of them are very career focused, right? So they are in the jobs that you want to go after, in the careers that you want to have. How do you make sure that you are you're choosing the right path? You're figuring out what skills you need on that path. The next is to do with what are the added benefits that an MBA gives, right? Now, one very strong benefit that you get is that when you end up doing an MBA degree, you actually become part of that alumni network. Now, like how I am, we are part of this network of our engineering college, Sairam Engineering College. When you end up doing a second degree, now that second degree can be an MTech, can be an MTech, and then from there on to a PhD also, or it can be it could be an MBA, like in this case. Both have their benefits. It's just that what are you aligned more with? Are you looking at growing more on the business side of things, more on the product side of things? In which case, adding a second degree, which is the business oriented, in this case an MBA, will help you get the skills. It'll also help you get that kind of circle also. So you will get the benefit of having a technical kind of base, alumni base, so you can reach out to them to understand, hey, you know what, I have this opportunity in my startup for a technology person, why don't you come? Or when you have the access to a B School alumni network, then you can also, let's say you're looking for a finance head or a marketing head, you can get those kind of profiles from there also. So that is one example. The second also is, in your career, as you're trying to grow, you can get the benefit of having a very strong second alumni network. In addition to having your undergrad network like engineering, you can get the second, secondary benefit as well. And even right now, I would say that like at ISB, there is a very, very strong attempt made by the college to interact with alumni and to really use them a lot in their decision making as well, especially when it comes to curriculum, when it comes to how do you make the college better, and then that kind of familiarity and that the fraternity that is built comes in very handy, because it's very easy for us to then reach out to other alumni, and whether I'm looking for a job, somebody else is looking for a job, we are trying to start up, we can look for other people to complement our skill set. So all of that becomes a very, very strong pull. So networking is definitely a secondary benefit that you get. But it's a very, very strong benefit, and not many people realize that. So you should look at that also when you're evaluating what to do post your engineering. I think the last thing that I wanted to touch upon was from a this is something that we sometimes end up getting exposed to while we are in college, right? So now you have started the engineering. There are some courses that you like, some subjects you like, but let's say you're you're going to be an electrical engineer or an electronic engineer, and you figure out that your core kind of subject is something that you're not enjoying, right? You're not because unless you enjoy a subject, you cannot really make a career out of it. So in the eventuality that you have you're in a course where you're not necessarily very, very enthusiastic about the technical subjects that you're doing, then it means that you probably may not want to will not continue in a technical field, right? You don't see that as a long-term path for you. In that case, you should definitely plan about doing an MBA in about 2 to 3 years of graduating. And I'll touch upon why I'm talking about this 2 to 3 years in my next slides as well. But one thing, please remember that regardless of when you want to do an MBA, if you want to do an MBA or an MTech or whatever it is, whichever course you're doing currently, you have to do very well in that. There is no substitute to not doing. There's no substitute to hard work. There is no substitute to smart work. You have to be very, very clear that this is what I'm doing right now. I have to get the max out of it. I have to ace it. I have to do so well here so that it is my choice whether I want to do a business role or I want to do a technical role, rather than it being forced on you that, hey, your technical skills are not up to the mark. We think you should, probably move into a business role, right? That is a choice. If you will have more control rather than, somebody making that decision for you, right? Also, and I'll come about when I talk about the prep, is that when you're done well in your college, when you've done well in your previous, in whatever companies you worked with pre-MBA, when you're applying to an MBA college, they will also look at what you've achieved. How well were your grades? How well have you actually done in your particular, course before you wanted to come for an MBA, right? So that becomes very, very key. now that we've touched upon some of the advantages, and there may be more, and there could be like a 2-hour session just on that, but we wanted to keep it kind of crisp. What I wanted to focus on were the top reasons, the top advantages that an MBA degree gives you after you've done an engineering. And if you are considering doing an MBA, or if you're sure of doing an MBA, how do you prep? How do you prep to make sure that you're getting into the right kind of MBA college, so that you have the best chance of cracking the best B schools over here, right? So I think number one is, like I was touching upon earlier, is that you have to do well in your academics. There is no shortcut. There is no working around that, right? I have seen some people make the mistakes where they will say that, oh, I'm anyway going to do an MBA later, or I'm not going to be working in a technical field anyway, so why should I work hard? Why should I try and get a distinction or whatever? See, that is not going to help you, because like I said, whenever you go for an interview, whether it's in a company or whether it is in a B school, they will always look at your academics. Some people, some entities will look at it right from class 10th, 12th, and all the way to engineering. And some people may only look at engineering. But what they're trying to see is, are you a high achiever, or do you settle for anything, right? So that is why doing well in your college right now and understanding the subjects well becomes key. So that, like I said, you have the opportunity to choose rather than somebody making that choice for you. When you have the opportunity to choose, you will have multiple choices in front of you, as opposed to somebody forcing you to do something because you don't have the requisite skill set. So always, whether you're in your first year or whether you're in your final year, pay as much attention as you can on your academics. Try to get good grades, good percentages, and more importantly, understand the subjects that are being taught and how does it relate to the real world. If you're like, I'm from computer science, so if you're if you're studying a subject on operating systems, try and understand how does it translate into the operating systems you see in your real life. If you're doing a course on computer networking, understand how does it translate into the latest networking technologies as well. Doing it in isolation is not going to help you, because you will not be able to apply that knowledge. Engineering is all about applied knowledge, applied sciences, right? So you need to do well in the course and also see how it is relevant and how it can be applied to any of the current world scenarios, right? The next one which I wanted to say was, make sure that you get to do a lot of good internships and do a lot of good projects. Now, a mistake that I see a lot of people doing, even in my time and plus even now, right? I see people doing something just so that they can put something on their resume, right? That is a wrong thing to do, because everybody is doing something to get something on their resume. So if you're putting this kind of internship in this company because you think you'll get a shortlist somewhere, that's not going to help you. Reason being that when you go for the interview, let's say you get shortlisted and you go for an interview, they are going to ask you, what did you learn in that? What was the role you played? Were you just somebody that was carrying papers from one meeting to another, or just documenting, taking minutes of meeting, or did you actually learn something, right? Did you make a module? Did you test a module? Did you contribute anything? Did you learn anything? So always prioritize learning, because the more you learn, the better you become than the other people. The better you become the better version of yourself, right? So these internships and projects, these kind of internships and projects that you do, make sure it is aligned with whatever we want to be doing in a few years. So if you want to do an MBA, if you want to start up later, if you want to get into a telecom company, or if you want to get into a product company, make sure you pick up those kind of projects. Make sure you pick up those kind of internships. And later on, when you're sitting for an MBA, admissions interview, when you're writing your essay for an MBA program, you should be able to tie all of this into a story. It is extremely important, because even I am also on the admissions panel at ISB. I do a lot of interviews of people coming into ISB. I mean, the admission candidates as well. So what we are trying to understand is, does the story of a particular candidate make sense, right? What were they doing? So they've done their engineering. So usually I also want to ask, okay, you've done your engineering, why aren't you looking to continue in a technical field? Or if you've done your engineering, why didn't you do some kind of short-term projects or freelance projects or internships to help you, do better in your startup, right? So therefore, the story that you have has to tie in very well to the goals that you have, and always prioritize learning. If you're learning something, you're not at a loss. You will always do well. But if you're doing something because you want to get a medal, or you want to get a certificate, or you want to put it, like I said, you want to put it on your resume, that is not the right thing to do at all. And people will see through it. Like when I do mock interviews, when I mentor a lot of people at ISB as well. Every year there's a formal mentorship program, and a lot of people reach out to me informally as well. So when I'm looking at their resumes and I'm understanding what they want to do, this thing we are able to catch very quickly. That it looks like you've done something just to get a certificate or just to put something on your resume. Don't do that. It's not going to help you. It becomes a negative point for you, right? So do the right kind of internships and the right kind of projects, because the more experience you have while you're doing your engineering degree, the better understanding of the subjects that you were taught, will be seen when we interact with you, right? The other thing that I wanted to say was, preferably, you should work for a couple of years before you join an MBA program. You can be clear that, yes, I want to do an MBA in the next 2 years, 1 year, 3 years, whatever it is. But going directly from an engineering degree to an MBA program, you will not be able to appreciate what is being taught in class, because a lot, like I went after 6 years of experience, because I wanted to work and go, wanted to work and do my MBA, and we were there was a lot of class participation. So if you're analyzing a case study, we did a case study on FedEx. We did a case study on Southwest Airlines, which is there in the US as well. So there was a lot of points and counterpoints that were being discussed. So when you have some experience in the real world, when you've actually worked on some of this, maybe you joined TCS or Wipro or one of these companies, you may have worked on a travel client, you may have worked on an airlines client. So you can bring that perspective into class, and everybody then appreciates you for it, and you are also then able to really tie what you were doing when you were working to what is being taught over here. So you're learning, again, see, I'm always prioritizing learning. Your learning of a particular concept, of a particular case study becomes much more, right? So I always recommend that at least work for one or 2 years before you go and join an MBA program, right? So that was one. And as Arun also said, if you have questions, you can either put them into the chat, or we'll have some time for Q&A towards the end as well. And I'll also be giving you my ways to connect with me, my Twitter ID, my LinkedIn ID, and my official email. So if you have questions later on as well, please feel free to kind of reach out to me, right? What are the other things? Definitely strong extracurriculars, right? Now, like Arun also said, I was always doing something or the other in the college. I captained the college team. I was part of the dance that we had done in college as well as at MBIT. We had also done I was part of some debate team as well. So something or the other was always happening, and that shows that you have a well-rounded personality, and you are also giving an opportunity to your own other facets of your personality to emerge. So if you're good with leadership, because see, when you're doing, let's say, community service, or I was captaining the cricket team, so your leadership skills come out over there. Either you're a natural leader, or you can learn leadership skills as well, right? So I can always demonstrate that, and because I was good in cricket, I've always pretty much captained most of the cricket teams I've been part of. So I can always make that story that I am I have this I'm probably good leadership material, because I've demonstrated that not only at work, I've also demonstrated that in my community and some other extracurricular activities as well. So that is what people want to see. So it's not just about writing a line which says that I participated in a cricket tournament. What does it say about you? What can I understand about your personality, right? And that is even in an MBA program, when you're writing your essay, or when you're talking, or when you make it to the interview round, all of these things come in for interesting conversation points, right? You've done some community service as well. So I actually, this is post my engineering, I actually initiated a community program called Free the Left Lane. It got covered in CNN, IBM. I was given an MTV Youth Icon Award as well. I got a the award from Delhi Chief Minister Sheila Dikshit as well. I was covered very widely on CNN, IBM. So, and that was done out of passion. So what was happening was we used to have a lot of traffic jams in Hyderabad. I mean, there are traffic jams everywhere, right? Especially in Bangalore. But there was this one particular case where people who wanted to go left, and it was a free left turn, were ending up waiting at a particular junction because other people were blocking the left lane. People who wanted to go straight, instead of waiting in the correct lane, they would come all the way and then cover all the left lanes. So you cannot turn left. And because of that, at some junctions, we were spending 20 to 30 minutes just waiting to turn left, which is actually supposed to be free. So what I wanted to do there was, I just wanted to show people that, if people follow rules, they will actually end up getting to their destination much faster, right? And it will be a more relaxed commute for them. They will not get angry. They will not, they will probably not, they will, not lose a lot of time. They will not lose temper. So we did it as an experiment. We just wanted to clear that lane. We wanted to say, you stay in your lane, you will get an opportunity and you will be able to go. You don't have to worry about anything. We did that. It worked so well. A lot of companies actually came in and wanted to join this. So Oracle did this on their own. Some of the other ones also, they said, okay, we will do this. So we used to actually have volunteers over there who used to come and cover, do this duty as well. So that community service actually came in very handy for me when I was writing my essay for ISB. When I was, and because I got some recognition for it, that also helped. But we didn't do it for that. I mean, I was not doing it because I thought I'll get some press coverage or whatever. I did it because I wanted to solve a problem. I wanted to make a difference. And because you have the right intentions, you end up getting the right rewards. It is not the other way around, where you're looking for rewards and you're getting something good done. That usually doesn't happen. When you want to do something good, you will be able to, you will end up getting some good karma or some good thing coming to you. And when that happens, you can use it to your advantage, right? You can use it for your benefit, right? So yeah, I think those are the main points I wanted to cover in terms of how do you prep and, what are the advantages. So if you're considering doing an MBA sometime, after you graduate, do think about the points that I mentioned over here. And this is, how you can connect with me. I'm on Twitter, I'm on LinkedIn. And this is my email ID as well. So feel free to connect on any of these platforms. You can follow me on these platforms as well. And then you can also reach out to me on email. I see one question that has come in. Let me just check. Okay, so I see a question which says, is it a good idea to pursue an MBA after MS? It's from Shashank Singh, who seems to be a fellow computer science engineer like me. Yes, I don't think, when you say it's a good idea, see, again, depends on what your long-term goal is, right? A lot of my classmates at ISB also had done their MS. Some of them had done their MS in the US, worked in those specific, those technical fields, and then decided to do an MBA. Because they, like I said, eventually everybody realizes what is more interesting to them. So while computer science, while an MS definitely helps you on the technical career growth, because your depth of technical knowledge after you've done an MS will be much more than if you've just done your bachelor's. So there is definitely a benefit of in doing an MS if you're planning to continue in a technical field, and then post your master's in a technical course, you can always take a decision to also do an MBA and then switch over to the business side. So learning is always good. It's never bad. It's just that it has to align with your personal goals and your career goals, right? So, okay, how to prioritize the college? So see, I'll tell you, obviously everybody wants to do it from the best college, right? So whether it's IIM, ISB, or SP Jain or any of these colleges. So see, the more time you have to plan for your MBA degree, the better chance you have in making it to the right the college that you want to, right? In my case, the like for me, it was, I wanted to do it from a top college. I wanted to do it for a 1 year program, because after doing, working for 6 years, I didn't want to spend 2 years doing an MBA. So those were my filtering criteria. So based on those things, I settled on ISB, and then I applied and I got through, right? In your case, again, I would say make a list of all colleges that you are interested in. Look at the in order of difficulty. What's going to be easy for you, what is not going to be easy for you. If it is not going to be easy for you, why? Question yourself why, and what can you do to overcome that? Do you have to get a better CAT score, or do you have to get a better GMAT score? Do you have to have a better profile in terms of what you are doing currently, right? Because see, what tends to happen, fortunately or unfortunately, is that majority of the applicants to MBA programs are engineers. Male engineers are the highest, the biggest category that typically applies for MBA programs. So if you are in that category, you are an engineer, and you are applying, you have to do something different than the next person. Otherwise, they will not really have a lot of, how do they actually figure out who to pick? Should it be person A or person B, right? So that is why make sure that while you're prioritizing your the college, right? So you have a target list of 3 or 5 colleges that you want to get into, where you think you have a good chance of getting into, and then really understand the admissions process, interact with the alumni, and then make sure that your profile and your admissions, whatever effort you're putting in, is maximized, right? You're doing the best that you can, and plan early. The sooner you can start, the better it is, like I said. So that is what I would recommend over there, right? The next question is, are there any advantages in doing MBA abroad? See, in the an MBA abroad is actually helpful in the following way, right? If you're looking at working abroad, then doing your degree, whether it's an MS or an MBA, definitely helps. What trend we are seeing right now is, if it's a technical degree, what it will really come down to is how well your technical subject, right? So a lot of people, if the intent is to move abroad, people start working in India, and then eventually after 2-3 years they move abroad. That is one. If it's on the business side that you want to get into, then definitely doing an MBA abroad, then working there and kind of growing through the ranks there, will help you integrate better into that particular society, right? Then so that is one. However, there are a lot of other nuances. An MBA abroad is very expensive as well, right? Somebody just exactly mentioned the same thing, right? They say that it's worth 50-60 lakhs. Exactly, it is very expensive. Not to say that an ISB thing is not cheap. I think the ISB degree now has gone up to about 35 lakhs, right? It's about 35, and if you take opportunity cost, it's probably even more, right? So it is expensive. So even if you consider 30-35 lakhs, it is quite expensive. But it comes down to personal preferences, right? So if you're looking at working in India, if you think that the next growth, the economies that are going to do well is going to be in in the Asia region, then you would want to be doing an MBA here rather than doing it in US, because if you feel that job opportunities are going to be better here, then it doesn't make sense to do it in the US. Vice versa is, if you feel that that's a bigger economy, the GDP is so much bigger, and you want to kind of continue working over there, then it's much better for you to go and do an MBA there. Again, because if you remember, the networking part that I had mentioned will help you integrate better into that society. It will help you understand, it will help you get opportunities, career opportunities in that particular society more easily, as opposed to you doing your MBA here in India and then trying to network your way into the US or whichever country you want to, right? So I think that is my opinion about it. It comes down to personal goals. For some people, spending 50-60 lakhs to do an MBA abroad makes sense if they have the money or if they can raise a loan. But the main intention is that they want to work in that country, whether it is the US or whatever. But if the intention is not to work there, then it doesn't make sense, right? Because I also had this decision to make, whether I want to do it here in the US or here, or in fact I had opportunities to move to the US many times, but we didn't take it. My wife and I didn't take it because I felt that the growth, the economies that are going to do well is going to be India, China, so this part of the world. That's why I didn't want to kind of move to the US, right? So it's a personal decision. A lot of my friends have actually moved there also, and they are doing well. It comes down to that. And yeah, I think a couple of other questions on, I believe somebody got shortlisted at Christ. So congratulations on that. Maybe you can send me an email and we can have a one-on-one discussion on that. And then we can figure out, because I think that'll be specific to your case, right? So I think, so like I said, this is the way to reach out to me. Please follow me either on Twitter, LinkedIn, and for any kind of one-on-one discussions, please feel free to drop in a message on LinkedIn or email, and then we'll figure out a time to kind of connect, right? So I think with that, I'll stop here and hand it over back to either Dr. Hari or Arun.
That was an excellent delivery. A very big round of applause from all of us. It was a real senior talk. It was not
Thank
at
you
all
so much.
a delivery. It was a beautiful, advices from your personal experience. You have rendered the students. Hopefully, who all are present today will, definitely get benefited out of it. So I had two questions in mind, and I wanted to ask it, but you covered it in your session itself. That is fine. So finally, before we wind up, I would like to hear one piece of advice or caution to all our students with reference to the current prevailing scenario and the job market. What would be your advice?
See, I think some of the things that I covered in the PPT will hold in a COVID and a post-COVID world, which is I think you need to see technology. It is always technology that changes the world, right? COVID right now, there are technology. There is a technical approach being taken to solve the problem, whether it is biotechnology or whether it is computer technology when it comes to using these kind of softwares or using cloud, or it could also be given now that we are seeing our roads, not our roads, but like our air is so clean, so that means that the automobile technology, the mech aspect of it also needs to be better, right? So there'll be more innovation.
Can we get to see you, please? Your video
is
not.
Sure. Yeah, it's just that because of this, I've not taken a haircut, so I'm not really very presentable. Though I wore a pant today after a lot of days, so thank you for that. So what I was saying is that so if you look at throughout the history, it's always been technology that's been the differentiator and really the influencing factor. And right now, all of you are pursuing an engineering degree. So make sure that you are really maximizing on the technical knowledge that you are gaining, right? That is in your control. What you can control is how well can I understand my technical subjects? How well can I understand how my theoretical subjects apply to the real world? And when I see the current COVID crisis, are there solutions that are emerging in my mind how to do this better, right? And in the post-COVID world, like I said, engineers and technology is going to be how the world is going to get better. There was a very interesting article written by Mark Anderson as well, who said that you should be building things, right? If you build things, the world becomes a better place. And engineers are the best equipped to build things. So right now, don't get too perturbed about COVID. Focus on maximizing your learning. Use this downtime to pick up additional skills, do some experiments, because eventually the world will heal. We will figure out some kind of a vaccine or whatever. So the world will move on. Whether you will before this started, if you have learned additional skills, you have used the time better. And believe me, there'll be a lot of students that are doing this, right? The ones who make the best use of this time would emerge better post-COVID. So that is my advice to people about the current kind of COVID opportunity.
Yeah, Samir, it was a very good session. You have covered all the points. And one thing I would like to congratulate that you have mentioned, you got an award from Delhi CM, Sheila Dikshit. So this I have not seen in profile. So now once again,
yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks. It is some time ago, so that's why I don't talk about it now. But,
okay, thank you. It was a good session.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. All right. Thank you, everyone. I think Arun, was there anything else?
That's it.
Okay.
Sir,
Okay.
so 1 minute, sir. Last
yeah.
vote of thanks. We'll just conclude
Keep it
the
short.
session
Keep
with
it
vote.
short.
Sure.
Sir, I would like to express my deep sense of gratitude to our founder chairman, Sri MJF Line Liomuthu, who is the architect of Sai Ram Group of Institutions and who is responsible for us to be here in the Senior Talk program. I extend my sincere thanks to our CEO and chairman, Sri Sai Prakash Liomuthu, who has been constant source of inspiration and responsible to encourage students. It's my pride and privilege to thank today's resource person and guest, Mr. Samir Mehta, 2004 alumnus, Department of Computer Science Engineering, for sharing his knowledge and also motivating students and whatever knowledge he's having. Thank you, Samir. Thank you so much for sparing your time in your busy schedule. Thank you.
Thank you.
I
Thank you
thank
so
our
much.
principal.